Well, it was some months before this incident happened that Peter Harvey went to a colleague, an educational advisor, and told them that he was suffering from stress and he feared that he was getting out of control. He might actually hurt somebody. He was sent home. It was said in court that perhaps he came back a little too early. A few months after that, he went to a science lesson. It was a normal day. The children started to cause disruption in the lesson, and it was alleged in court that these children knew he was vulnerable. They knew he could be easily wound up. One girl at the back of the class even had a camcorder and was recording the proceedings of that particular lesson as they continued to wind him up. As the defence said, eventually he did crack. They said that he'd come back to work far too early, he was fragile, he was vulnerable. They called him the walking wounded, and it was an accident just waiting to happen. The boy he eventually grabbed had been in trouble before, allegedly, several times over the last school year, and he was also said to have been the ringleader of the trouble here. He was grabbed round the neck and by the collar by Mr. Harvey, who said that he just completely saw red. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know who he was. It was like looking at somebody else, looking at somebody on TV. Dragged him into the corridor and started hitting this boy, then 14 years old, a boy who can't be named, around the head with a 3-kilogram dumbbell, causing a very serious head injury. The boy was in hospital for 4 or 5 days, but it was said in court that he was provoked, that he didn't really want to, didn't attempt to, didn't, in the first instance, he didn't go into that school thinking that he would kill somebody. So he was found not guilty of attempted murder and not guilty of grievous bodily harm with intent, although he'd already admitted causing grievous bodily harm. There was never any dispute about the fact that he was the one that caused that injury to that boy. And afterwards, we heard from Paul Winter from Nottinghamshire Police.
This was an extremely complicated investigation. Given the circumstances surrounding the incident and the number of children involved, it's needed to be managed in a highly sensitive way by officers with specialist skills. Throughout the inquiry, we have sought to support the family of the boy concerned and have also worked very closely with the school and the local education authority. Through careful and painstaking inquiries, we gathered all of the evidence that was available to us, and following detailed consultation with the Crown Prosecution Service, a decision was made to take the case to court. We acknowledge the decision of the jury and hope that today's verdict will bring some degree of closure to all those involved with the incident. Thank you.
And David, Peter Harvey had been a teacher for many years. What did the jury hear about his teaching abilities?
They heard from 2 witnesses today, 2 young women who had been pupils sometime before this incident happened. Both of them said he was a fantastic teacher, that he was an inspiration to one of them, who then went on to be a teacher herself, and she said she wanted to be as good as he was, and she really did think that he was one of the best teachers that she'd ever had. He was always in control, but as the defence said, once he'd had this illness, he came back a completely changed man, and as the defence said, despite the ages of these children, they preyed on this man's frailty without mercy. We have been speaking to another former pupil of Mr. Harvey.
I mean, people didn't push it far. It's a clear line. He'd do the normal sending people out detentions. He was firm but fair, and he never really had any problems. I mean, there was never a lot of people stepping out of line in his classes, really, because he used to engage the students that well. They were all interested.
Well, the judge has issued his disquiet that this should have been brought against Mr. Harvey in the state of mind he was in the first place, and we may be hearing more about that from the Crown Prosecution Service. As for Mr. Harvey himself, of course, he has pleaded guilty to grievous bodily harm, but it's been indicated by the judge that he's got to come back on the 21st of May and face some kind of community service order. It means that he can walk free.